La Nuit de Lhomme, arguably the most popular date night scent for men. They've got a lot of iterations. It's a flanker of YSL L'Homme that has spawned its own set of flankers, and there's actually 4 in total that are all closely related to each other. The original La Nuit de Lhomme Eau de Toilette, the Eau de Parfum, the Le Parfum, as well as the L'Intense. Today, we're going to discuss all 4. Pros, cons, strengths, weaknesses, and which one I suggest you take a look at in 2020. Stay tuned. So just a little brief rundown on the 4 that we're going to be discussing today, with obviously talking about the original La Nuit de Lhomme, the Eau de Toilette first. So this came out first. It's went through many reformulations. Obviously you can tell most distinctly by the color of the juice. This is a 2018 bottle, and it is the lightest color juice. It used to be a much darker amber whiskey colored juice, and yes, it used to perform a bit better, but with this bottle, for example, on my skin, I still get about 6 to 7 hours, and it still projects pretty heavy for that first hour and a half to 2 hours, which for going to dinner, it's more than enough. For an evening out, more than enough. And it's a very recognizable, beloved, seductive, and playful scent that historically ladies just love to smell on men. The cardamom in this is sweet, spicy, powdery, and like I said, playful. This is definitely the most playful of the 4 we're going to be discussing in this video today, and the most youthful by design. For the younger men, I would definitely suggest going with the original for sure. Because like I said, it's the most youthful, it's the most lively, it's the most playful, and it's definitely the sweetest. And going to be the most recognizable. And that's the original Eau de Toilette, La Nuit de Lhomme. Next closest iteration is going to be a release from last year in 2019, which is the Eau de Parfum. Now, what this does differently, it still features the cardamom. It tones down the playfulness just a tad. It's not quite as loud and sweet. In the opening, it's still pretty loud and abrupt and aggressive, but after you give it a few minutes, that cardamom and the powderiness is still there, that sweet spice. But there's a beautiful leather note that's in this one that wasn't present in the Eau de Toilette, and that's what really separates this one. It's actually on my hand, the dry down. Now, projection's not quite as heavy. It's a little bit more dialed back and subdued, but still there, still leaves a nice scent bubble for several hours on your skin. Does get about 7 to 8 hours of longevity on my skin, which is kind of, you know, the sweet spot for what you would expect out of a designer fragrance nowadays, especially one on the higher end like people consider Yves Saint Laurent fragrances. Now with this one, in my opinion, this is as you're maturing a bit more. If you liked La Nuit de Lhomme as a younger man, maybe as you're starting to get in your upper 20s, lower 30s, you might like that leather note, or even more so in the winter, this might be a better option than the Eau de Toilette because of that beautiful leather note. If the original Eau de Toilette is just too loud, this might be the better route for you. It's definitely a beautiful fragrance. Is it exactly the same? No. Is it the DNA with a twist? Absolutely is that. And it's a beautiful one that not too many people have gotten their hands on, and doesn't really get talked about a lot aside from when it really came out at first. And it's one that you should check out. FragranceNet has them right now, and that's where I got this bottle for a decent price. I don't remember exactly what I paid for it, but if you like La Nuit de Lhomme but you want a bit of a twist, like I said, this is more subdued, dials it back a little bit on loud and sweet, and adds some leather to really round it out, smooth it out. It's a bit deeper, a bit denser, and that's the newest release in the line as far as what's closer related to the original, and that's the Eau de Parfum. Now, this is definitely not one of the newer flankers to it, but the way I like to describe this one is it's La Nuit de Lhomme grown up. It's the matured version, in my opinion. It's the Le Parfum. So this one dials up the lavender, replaces the cardamom with fruity notes and black pepper. So you still get a sweet spice, but a different sweet spice. It's not near as powdery. It's a bit more aromatic and soapy up top, while still maintaining that warm spice, but there's more of a fresh spice with this one, with the fruits and the black pepper. This is actually my current La Nuit de Lhomme of choice when I go out on dates and to dinners with my wife, because my wife is a giant fan of this line. as are a lot of women out there. That's why it's so popular. This is why guys wear La Nuit de Lhomme, because women like La Nuit de Lhomme. And like I said, performance is about par for the course, 6 to 8 hours. I know on my skin it's about 7 hours roughly. Projections on the moderate to heavy side in the first hour, then moderate to moderate low the rest of the way, where you have a nice little mild scent trail. Definitely noticeable for several hours into the wear. But like I said, this is a more matured version of it. The black bottle is fitting because it's a little bit formal. And like I said, a little bit more grown up. That's really a fitting composition for a fitting look and style. It's deep, about as deep as the Eau de Parfum. It has a bit more density and depth because of the oil concentration. It doesn't make it some beast mode performer. It just adds a complexity and a depth that wasn't there in the Eau de Toilette. Not as loud, not as playful, but definitely out to handle business in the evenings. This is my current choice for going to dinners, and that's the Le Parfum. The last one we're covering is actually the least popular of the four. It's one that's discontinued, and it really veers in its own lane from the La Nuit de Lhomme DNA. It's still present, but it's way in the background. This one features violet and iris and is the most subdued as far as projection. This is a very intimate projection. This is La Nuit de Lhomme L'Intense. This, and now this is my wife's words, has the sex appeal in the line. Yes. This one's a turn on. This one's good for intimate times, intimate settings, more close encounters. That's when I would suggest this one the most. Now, if you love iris, which I do, and you like Dior Homme, but it's kind of combining Dior Homme and La Nuit de Lhomme, and pretty much in essence, it kind of mixes the best of both worlds, if you will. And it doesn't last a really long time. 5 to 6 hours. It's actually the weakest performer of these four, and it's pretty close to the skin after the first 30 minutes. But in an intimate setting, 1 or 2 sprays is going to be plenty, because this is a fragrance you're going to want to wear when your significant other is going to be close to you. This is when this thing is going to shine. Good for date nights, good for somebody that doesn't want to really project and pronounce, hey, I'm here, hey, I'm in the room, and have everybody else smell them. If you want to keep it more for yourself and your significant other, this might be the pick for you. It definitely has its use. I definitely wouldn't go off of written reviews and everything. It's one you need to try for yourself. Don't just push it to the side, because it actually is a very good fragrance that has a very specific use, in my personal opinion. And that's the L'Intense version, La Nuit de Lhomme. Now, which one would I recommend as the best overall option of the four most closely related to one another in the La Nuit de Lhomme line? The four that are La Nuit de Lhomme, essentially. The original, the Eau de Parfum, the Le Parfum, and the L'Intense. Well, if I have to pick just one to work in evening situations and dates, and this is going to be the one I wear forever and ever, it will be my current favorite, the Le Parfum, because you do get the best of a lot of different features in here. It still performs pretty well. It's one of the better performers of the four as far as longevity. The projection's moderate the entire time to moderate low. It never gets too heavy, and it's never too close to the skin till a few hours in. Then it starts getting pretty close to the skin. And it's got more versatility by having pepper, fruits, and lavender versus that loud, aggressive cardamom. It actually lends itself to more situations than just a date night. Fantastic for a date night, fantastic for a formal setting, but you can go as far as in cooler months to wear this one to work if you'd like, because it's not too loud, but people will still smell you. It's still going to garner some compliments. It does have a very high compliment factor, and it's still readily available and pretty easy to find for the most part. You can get this one around $59 from Kingdom Fragrances, which is much cheap. Actually, I'm sorry, $69, right around $68, $69 from Kingdom Fragrances, which is linked below, which is about $20 cheaper than you can get it from FragranceNet for. And it's my personal favorite of the four. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy all four. They all have similar uses, some more specific than others, but in my opinion, this is the most well-rounded of the La Nuit de L'Hommes. For a young man, yeah, absolutely go with the original. It's perfect for a guy that's under 30, teenager to 30 years old, going out to bars, still hitting the bar scene, 21, 22, 23. That's a good fragrance for you. That's going to grab attention and pull people into you. But for those of you that have already settled down, something like the Le Parfum, is probably going to be the way to go. Definitely my pick of the 4 in the La Nuit de Lhomme line. Well, that's the 4 in my opinion and my thoughts. And until next time, guys, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. I do appreciate all the feedback. I love hearing from you guys. How many of you have tried all 4? How many of you have 2 of them and don't like the other 2? Or you've only tried 1 and been itching to try a certain one? Let me know down in the comments. You know, not everybody has all 4. Does it warrant having all 4? Do you need all 4? No, of course not. Did I want to get all 4? Obviously. That's why I have all 4. Definitely have their uses, and some are going to agree with my pick, some won't, but they all have their merits. It's all subjective. Just because that's my favorite doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be yours. Hope you guys like this video idea. I want to start doing more videos like this. I recently did the Spice Bomb video, which I'll put that right there if you want to check it out, where I discussed all 5 fragrances in the line. I'm going to be doing more stuff like this from time to time, kind of mix it up a little. And until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on any of the 4 versions of La Nuit de Lhomme that were discussed in this video, and you give them a spray now, pretty confident you'll thank me later. There's some damn good fragrances. Have a good one, guys.